Hi, Chinthaka.
Hello, Boby.
So, see, you are saying different layers and things like that. My head is spinning.
Why is your head spinning?
I'm not able to follow fully. How is this huge change in resistance is occurring?
So I think we talked about spin scattering or scattering of electrons in AMR and now in GMR.
Yeah.
So and that's the reason for this resistance change due to an applied magnetic field.
Okay.
So maybe I think it's a good time to probably very briefly
Yeah.
explain to the students how this resistance, of this stack of materials change when you apply a magnetic field. So, if you take an electron, right? What are the properties of an electron? You have your charge, mass, and then you also have spin.
Yeah.
Now, electrons can either spin up or
Spin down.
spin down, right? So, spin up means you're rotating in a clockwise direction, and spin down means you're rotating in an anti-clockwise direction. As you can see here, right? So, this gives rise to a magnetic dipole, right? In the case of spin up, you have the dipole up here, and spin down, you have dipole down. Now, they also have this magnetic dipole number, but we don't really worry about that. All we need to know to understand how this resistance change is the spin up and spin down.
How is it dependent on this spin?
Right. So, before we said a very basic layer or stack of GMR consists of two ferromagnetic layers, okay, separated by a non-magnetic conductive layer, okay, and that's that non-magnetic conductor. Now,
and you mentioned these are very thin layers.
Yes, these are nanometerized thick layers, right? So, and they must be carefully controlled to get the GMR effect. Now, let's say you have a spin up and spin down electrons, because if you're talking about, so obviously you apply a current to this stack, right? And then when you apply a magnetic field, the resistance changes, and you can measure that change in resistance by the change in voltage.
Yeah.
Now, let's say you have spin up and spin down electrons in your current. Now, let's say your magnetization layers are parallel, as you can see here. Now, let's say your spin up electrons are also aligned in the same direction as these magnetization layers.
Okay.
So when they travel, right, they will travel between the ferromagnetic, non-magnetic, and ferromagnetic layer without a lot of scattering, because they are aligned in the same direction.
Okay.
Okay.
So for example, the bottom layer,
this one.
Yeah. Yes. That one has majority upspin electron or downspin electron.
Yes. So I mean, this is a large stack, but when you apply a current, let's say that has a majority of upspin
for the bottommost one.
Yes.
I mean, here we have two.
Yes.
Bottom one has more majority upspin.
Yes.
While the top one has majority downspin electrons. Is it like that?
Not necessarily. I mean, I guess if you talk about a current, you have both upspin and
current. What I'm saying is the material.
Okay. I'm not sure about the actual material and the electrons in that material. But I mean, these are pretty much kind of very small domain particles, right? So I think when you're talking about the layers, I think for the layers, maybe you can. Oh yeah, okay. So what you're saying is because this direction is in this way, maybe it has more majority of electrons.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I guess you can think of it like that. Yes, correct. Okay. Yeah. So in this case, your upspin electrons will travel without a lot of scattering.
Yeah.
Right. Now normally conduction happens in parallel, right? So if you look at this path here, okay, you can model it like one arm of a parallel circuit.
Yeah.
Okay, so here you have low resistance, which you can see here, and again here there's low resistance because there's not a lot of scattering.
Yeah.
Now take the case of the downspin electrons, this one here. Now the downspin electrons have
Okay, I think I got confused. So here both layers are having upspin majority.
yes, because we are talking about the current going through the different layers.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So then your downspin electrons, which is again part of your current,
Yeah.
will get scattered because its spin is antiparallel.
Yeah.
Right, to the alignment of these magnetizations. So it will scatter here, and it will also scatter at the other ferromagnetic layers, which means we know when it's antiparallel, the resistance increases. Okay, which is now, if you look at this leg for the down spin electrons, you have a high resistance. Now, if you get the parallel equation, you get something like this.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's look at the case when both magnetizations are antiparallel to each other.
Yeah.
What's going to happen now? I mean, I think it's
I think this is the case I was referring to.
okay.
One is dominant with upspin, while the other one is dominant with downspin.
Right. Yeah. Right. That's when the layers are
Antiparallel.
I mean, their magnetizations are antiparallel.
Yes.
So in this case, your upspin electron will go through this without much scattering because it's in the same direction.
Yeah.
But there will be some scattering at this layer because now because the upspin is antiparallel to this, which is what you see here. You have a high resistance here and a low resistance.
Yeah.
Now, similarly for the downspin, right, it would still get scattered here, but there won't be a lot of scattering at this. Right? Again, you see this one.
Yeah.
So your antiparallel equation is this. So it's very clear now that your parallel equation has a lower resistance than your antiparallel equation. Okay, and the GMR ratio is obviously antiparallel minus parallel divided by okay. So you can get a nice equations based on resistances. Now again, this is just to show the students how spin scattering is basically used in conjunction with these different magnetization layers to give this giant magnetoresistance that we talk about.
For these spin scattering, I used to say some funny example.
What's that?
So, I mean, let's say there is a room. One door is this side, the other door is that side.
Okay.
And let's say all of us are standing and rotating in one direction.
Okay. So all of us are like standing and rotating.
Yeah.
Okay.
With hands like this.
Okay.
And then let's say one guy is entering.
Okay.
Rotating in the other direction. And he wants to pass through. It will be very hard.
Yes.
He or she will be
scattered.
Yeah, scattered into pieces.
Yes. Actually, that's a nice way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
So if you're rotating in the same direction,
it's easy to pass it.
Yes. Yeah, that's a nice way of thinking about it. Which is basically what happens here.
Yes.
Because when you talk about scattering, because somehow there is a force acting against you.
Yeah.
So you're scattered, right? But if it's the same direction as you can pass through. Yeah, that's a nice way. Yeah. So obviously it's a more complicated process.
Yeah.
But I think this is how
it's easy to relate that funny example.
Yes. And this is basically how it works for GMR. And even for AMR, right? The scattering is because of
the spin dependent scattering.
Spin dependent scattering, yes. Okay.